And hello and welcome to whatever it is, Thursday, Tuesday, 11:07. I don't know. I just got back last night from the trip to Massachusetts, which was great. I meant to go back, or I wanted to go back the end of September, but that didn't quite work out the way that I had wanted because of a bunch of stuff. So we rescheduled the trip for last week, which was a lot of fun. And at the last minute, just kind of made that happen. So that was really good. Drove, yeah, drove straight out, and then ended up doing last Monday's feed from the House of Hanson, which I will show you that from Show and Tell, which was a lot of fun. I will check comments in a second. I literally just turned everything on, so I don't have comments yet, but I will get to that. So hello to everyone jumping in. I just had lunch too. I feel like I have pizza in my teeth. What was I saying? Oh yeah, did the pumpkin with Mr. Hanson, which I'll show you in a second. It was great. It's always fun hanging out with him, and I also got to see all my kids watch football with my son, and saw my other son's new puppy who's getting big, and hang out with my daughter and her future husband, which is great. So it was just a really, really, really good trip. And then on the way out, I got a call the night before I left from Nub asking if I was going to be stopping in, and his shop is right on the way from me. So it's a 600-mile trip, 630 miles, but literally I passed by Nub's exit, which is amazing. So I did. I stopped in Tuesday and hung out with him and did his live feed yesterday. No, 2 days ago. And then I drove home yesterday. So that's the whole story. So anyway, I am going to do a 543 today. I started them before I left the trip, but I still want to get them done before the weekend. So I thought that's what we would do today. I have a suggestion by Eric Williams, which is great. I also have been remiss in checking all the thanks and super chats. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you in person, but like I said, I didn't run through the last feed to grab those. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. Again, I keep saying that this year was the year of the socials. So I really wanted to get all those up and running, and you guys have been amazing. I love that you're all part of my family here. So that's it. That's it. All right, let me switch things around. I'll say hello. Let me go to this one, and then I will do some things. Let me get YouTube up here so I can see who's on and say hello to everyone and all that fun stuff. There I am. Yay. I was good. I was a good doobie. Thank you all for checking out all the videos this week. I was trying to be real good and preload all those up, and everything worked well. Thank you for anyone who made a comment on the knife Tech Tuesday. I'm sure there were a bunch of people that were could relate to my pain of stabbing myself several times. Enzo, what's up? Michael, Dan, Cody, what's going on, everyone? All right, so let me show you this real quick, and then we'll get right to it. So here is the pumpkin from the feed, and this is nice on video because you get a much better feel for how it came out. Now, I do have a couple things left to do. This does have a couple coats of UVLS on it, gloss, but I'm going to re-clear it now that Keith Hansen did all his fancy striping on the back of this. So this is how it came out. The other thing I'm doing is I'm giving this guy a bowlectomy. So I've taken out the bottom panel here, and I'm building a base that this will sit on, which has LED lights. So when Gary gets it, Gary Shees is our winner for this one, and when he gets it, it'll light up really, really spooky and all that fun stuff. So this unfortunately won't get to him for this Halloween because he's got some other stuff in the works here, and I'm going to send everything together, but he will have it for next year. So that's how it came out. Super happy. Amazing what you can get at the Family Dollar store, My Family, whatever they call it. Anyway, so that is that. One other quick thing I'm going to jump over real quick because it's definitely worth mentioning, but I got to get this up so it's correct. But you guys, the new or this year's holiday sale is up and running right now. So if you see anything you like on the website, this code will get you 30% off. So this year it's a big one. It changes, the amount changes each year, and this year is one of the bigger ones. So if there's a 543 that you've been waiting on, or if you'd like a commissioned 543, It's incidentally, the Commission 543s are the only thing that the holiday that they're the only commission that the holiday will work on, the holiday coupon, because it's an actual item on the sale. So so this is good for any item on the site, including all the original paintings and the prints. So even if you're kind of hanging on for a print, this is the time to do it. So that's the code, and that's going to run right through December 31st. That going on. Enzo, is it your birthday? I know, Michael. Everyone laughed when you said that. That was awesome. Bobby Silva, what's up, buddy? It's Enzo's birthday today, so I don't have a proper cheers for Enzo. I'm sorry, Enzo, but I will cheer you with my coffee. Ooh, that wasn't. It was over here. There we go. So I'll cheer you with my coffee today. But if you're having an adult beverage or a regular beverage, cheers to Enzo on his birthday. All right. Enzo, had I known that, I would have done. Oh, I wish I knew. Because I picked the 543s from next Monday, from not this past Monday, which is normally how I do it. I picked them from 2 weeks ago. So I doubled up on those suggestions. But had I known that, Enzo, I would have picked one of yours to do. So there we go. Awesome. So, but today, let's get right into it. Let's just do it. Why am I waiting around? Today's 543, or this Monday's, and you guys will get the sneak preview, so you guys will know about it before Monday, which is fun. Eric Williams has been asking this for a little while, and if you've been on the Monday night and you know how things work, if you keep asking for the same thing over and over again, it eventually kind of gets into my thick skull, and sooner or later I'll end up doing it for you. So Eric's been asking for this one for a while, and I'm finally getting around to it. So I'm kind of glad he's not here. It'll be a nice surprise for him. But Eric's been asking for an inverted F-15. So basically an F-15 that's flying upside down. Let me switch to this one. So this is what I came up with for that. And yes, I scabbed a picture from Dreams Time. It's actually a F-15 that's flying upright underneath like that, but I inverted it. Now, the thing with this painting is I could have just taken a regular painting of an F-15 and then flipped it upside down and said, hey, here's the inverted F-15. But that's cheating. That's hardcore cheating. So you notice there's a background behind this. And that's kind of, that will set it up for the inversion. There won't be any question. Normally I don't do backgrounds on 543s, but I'm going to show you how I kind of will get this done pretty quickly. And it will still give the same effect. Again, the idea is to get this done within 2 hours. Where this one probably won't take 2 hours to do, just because I don't have any bombs on the F-15, no ordnance, which is also a big thing. Fewer the details on something, the faster I can get it done. So you'll notice I often pick images that don't have things like hair and feathers and, repetitive patterns. It's going to take a long time to do. I just try to avoid them. So this is a good one. No bombs, no nothing on the bottom of this guy. He's just afterburner and he's upside down. So there you go. Awesome, Enzo. Yeah, that would have been fun though. I gotta make sure I do that. When we should have a birthday calendar. That's what we should have. And then I should give something to the birthday boy or girl, like a print or something. All right, let's get to it. Let's get right to it. So I have my 543 Yupo paper, which is here. And these are already, I pre-paint these with Autoborn Sealer Gray. And out of one sheet, I get 25 543s. So I buy the big sheets of Yupo and then cut them down. I did try originally when I bought the big sheet, I did try to spray the whole thing, and I don't have a big spray booth here, so that really didn't work out very well. So what I do now is what I did originally. I cut them all down to size first, and then I just stick them on a board and just spray the smaller sheets, and that works out really well. So if you do buy the bigger sheets and you don't have a big area to spray, it works out better for me because it's a lot more controllable. The coats are a lot more even, If you don't have a big spray gun, this is really the only way to do it, because if you're trying to do this with like a small airbrush or something over a big sheet, like I think it's 19 by 25 or something like that. It's too hard to get it even on that big of area. Now, if you had a spray gun and a spray booth, then spraying the entire sheet is definitely the way to go. You could just blast the whole thing. It'd take 2 seconds, and then you're off to the races. You just cut it up and sand it, and you're ready to go. All right, so first is 1000 grit sandpaper. Get all the nibs off. This round was really, really good. Sometimes, you know, I get chunks or hairs or stuff in them, and I have a not so good round. This one was an excellent round. There's really, I mean, I could almost just spray out of the, or paint out of the, right on the board, right on the panel. I don't even have to sand them. They came out great this time. But sanding them just always gives me the same type of surface on that. All right, Michael, that's great. Thanks for jumping in. All right, and thank you, Michael, for being a What Could Go Wrong member. Super love that. I do have some plans for both the Patreon and the YouTube membership, so they will just keep growing. What I don't want to do is have multiple tiers of membership. So there's no reason. I mean, it's not like anyone who's doing that is doing it wrong by any stretch, because that's normally the way to do it. You have different tiers, and then you give away different things per tier. But that's too much work for me. So, I dropped a magnet. That's a bummer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the lowest tier possible for monthly amount. That way we can get the largest number of people in. I'm going to build some cool additional features for it, some kind of additional perks, and that's going to be it. It's going to be the community, and that's it. So again, I looked at it, I thought about it for a long time, like especially people who have a lot of different merchandise, like at different levels, price levels. It's easier for them to do those like multiple tier Patreon things because they can offer more, you know. But I just thought I'd keep it super easy and just leave it as a way for you guys to be a supporter without having to, you know, do too much. So that's what I think. That's what I'm thinking. All right. So that, I should have mentioned it. For those who don't know, this is FBS Gold masking tape, KUTG Gold. It is my favorite masking. I use it on everything. It rarely pulls up paint, but it's produces a really nice seal. So it sticks really well, but not well enough that it's going to ruin your painting. It comes in different widths, all the way down to 1/8 of an inch. This is a 1/2 inch right here. And it comes all the way in big rolls, big sheets. So you can do a whole ton with it. I love this stuff. I use a lot of it. Okay, so what I did was, again, you guys have seen this before. It's 1/2 inch tape, so there's a 1/2 inch border around this. This sheet is 4 by 5. It will ultimately produce a 3 by 4 painting, but by coming in a little bit or coming off the edge a little bit, I've given myself a little bit of extra leeway to mat this when it's all done. I'm just going to cut off the excess tape, which you guys can't see, but I don't want to move the camera because I spent all that time putting that camera in exactly the right spot for you to get up close without being in the way. But all I'm doing is just taking an X-Acto knife and cutting off the excess. I've also pre-cut most of the templates. So like I said, I'm hoping that I can get this done fairly quickly. If you have any questions, just shoot them out. Is that light enough or dark enough? It should be fine. Someone's burning leaves. I have all the windows open. I don't like that smell, but it gives me anxiety too, because now here in Northeast Ohio, most of the maple leaves have ejected all of their leaves, so that means I gotta get busy on that. Alrighty then. Let's do so with this I'm gonna do the background first. So what I do with the background is, and I love this, like whenever I do these jets, I usually try to do like some sort of farmland underneath. I just love that mosaic kind of look. So what I've done is I've kind of split it up into two different sections. There is the lighter section, the white section, which you can see actually in this one. See all those little light squares of the farms out there? So I cut some of those out, and then the other one is the darker squares, these lower ones here. This is great because it gives it a great sense of perspective, or atmospheric perspective too. So because the ground in the foreground here is sharper and darker, and it gets lighter and foggier at the top, it really gives this thing a feeling like there's a whole ton of distance here, which is a neat trick, and it's simple and it's easy, and we like simple and easy. So I'm gonna line this up. This one doesn't have to be like super perfect. It's just everyone after this one, because once I get the farm in here, all those little farms, I got to make sure that I roughly have it lined up. Again, if you have any questions, just shoot them out. I do have my comments finally up. So where do you get the large sheets? Cody, I get them from Dick Blick. So they are a big online, for the UKers, I don't think they're in the UK, but they're a big online art supplier. That's all they do is art supplies. Dick Blick, and I don't want to say they're in New York originally. They might not be, though. I could be wrong about that. You can get Yupo just about from a lot of different places. And because it comes in all these different sizes, too, and pads and everything, a lot of places stock it. And I use the heavyweight, the purple one. So, yeah, it's great because with Dick Blick, you can buy... Like I buy a bunch of them at a time, but you can buy one sheet if you want. And pound for pound, if you are cutting it down, it's more economical to buy the big sheet and cut it down than it is to buy the pads. But yeah, works so well. All right, so this first one, you probably already saw it down below. It says white. So the first pass usually with all these 543s is white, and this one is no exception. But at this, I'll deal with, normally I do all the white, including the background. But in this case, I'm going to split it up a little bit because there's no white on the jet, which is nice. There are no highlights strong enough on the jet to warrant doing that. So, well, I shouldn't say that. The afterburners are going to be a little bit of white, but I mean, as far as the highlights and all that fun stuff. So I'm just going to take the white, just go over this really, really softly. I don't have to worry about keeping these really, really sharp either. So you notice there's no magnets between all little openings and everything, because I kind of want this soft and fuzzy. The other thing about this too, again, and I'll keep saying this as I'm working on this, this is a 543, and 543s need to happen fast. So there are corners that are cut on it. One of them is if I was doing this as a 3x4, but a real painting, I would have all these little details and these little roads and all this stuff. It would take me just as much time to do the background as it would to do everything else. But a 543, again, is a different animal. So I try to find a spot where I can cut corners without having it really affect the painting. I want them to kind of be paint sketches. So that should be good. So we're going to leave that white in the brush. There's a little bug flying around my face. Stop it. There we go. And that is what we got. Ta-da! Pretty easy, right? All right, so I'm gonna leave that white in the brush. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line up the dark gray. And I'm gonna leave the white in the brush because I'm not done with that yet. I've got other things to do with that. I gotta make sure I line this up and I'm not flopping around here in the wrong spot. Oh, I could use, what I'll use this little field right here because I know that's that one. That'll get me in the right ballpark. Yeah, that was exactly what I should have done. Jeebus. Can you guys believe it's like the end of October already? It's crazy. I'm all like, I'm going to get the sale out early this year so people can like get what they want and all this stuff. And I really only put it out a week early than normally. Excuse me. Hold on one second. I'm going to mute it because I got a cough. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that was interesting. But I also don't want to get into being like, you know, the store that puts out their Christmas decorations in June. So I think that what happened this year is the earliest I'll ever get that sale going. So like that second or last week of October. All right, for this one, I do want a few extra magnets, especially down in here, because down here needs to be a little bit sharper. Again, that gives more of a feeling of that whole idea of distance. If it's real sharp up here or down here, but it's really soft and fuzzy up here, that's going to again give that feeling that there's a whole lot more distance up here than there is down here. Just stupid easy tricks, and it doesn't even have to be in the reference photo for you to take advantage of that. If this was a super, like this is a hazy day here, but if this was a super clear picture and it was like, you know, mega pixels and all the detail was there, you can still do all this to your reference. In fact, you should, because it makes it your painting. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Like this thing, you won't be able to go online and look it up because it's a composite of all these other, you know, images. So, all right, let me grab another brush, put some black in this, and we'll go. So for this, I think I'm going to go with the lighter black. I mean the thinner black. This is 1 part opaque black to 10 parts reducer. So it's a pretty thin black. It's also through the Micron B, so that, you know, that helps. So now what I'm going to do, think about it this way. So now there's going to be a black fade. So darkest down here, and it's going to fade away as it goes up top. That's how I'm going to spray this. Okay, so it's not just going to be, you know, everywhere. It's going to start. It is going to be. I shouldn't say that. It is going to be everywhere, but it's going to be darker as I end up. So it'll be darker down here as I knock everything over. Oh, I got a comment. I'm going to slide over. Tommy, what's up? I know you've talked about it a bunch, but in general, what ratio wicked opaque to reducers optimally get to good details and avoid tip dry? Tommy, that is the million-dollar question. That is the golden question of questions. So there are two things that really kind of determine that. The first thing is what brush I'm using. And then the second thing is really what kind of detail am I really trying to get with it. If I'm trying to freehand just with the airbrush and that's it, the most amount of detail I can get is with the paint, the reduction I'm using right now. So it's 1 part paint to 10 parts reducer. It's ridiculously reduced. So again, I can't stress it enough. That's way over reduced from what they recommend, and it does affect its ability to stick. But again, I'm not using it. I'm using it in such a thin application that the layers and layers of paint that are either on top of it or the clear that goes on top of it, all that is really what locks that in. I'm not relying on a film of that, and I would never tape on 1 to 10. It probably would come right off. I shouldn't say that, but no, no, it wouldn't come right off. It depends on the surface and everything. Like if I do 1 to 10 on this and I tape on it, the paint will stay where it is. But for the most part, I don't want to recommend it if you're going to be taping, because that, you know, you can do some damage to it. Now, that being said, if I was using, say, the Micron C, this one, it doesn't need as much reduction to do the same kind of detail. So 1 to 5 would work with this, 1 part paint to 5 parts reducer. And if I was using something like the, well, this has a 0.2 in it, but if I had this is a XGI from Grex. If this had the 0.3 in it, you could go 1 to 2 or even 1 to 1, and you could get crazy detail with that too. So my point is, it depends more on the opening size of the airbrush for the reduction than anything. There is no blanket reduction. It really depends on the brush. So the beautiful thing about the new opaque black is you have that flexibility. You can reduce it in a number of different ways, and it's not going to really compromise the paint. So I hope that answered your question. And then, if I had a, BCS or where's my beast? This is my Eclipse CS with a 0.5. You could run the paint straight out of the brush like that, and you'd get great detail out of it. So that's the number one thing. I guess it's what brush you're using. Air pressure, I always tend to run it high anyway. However, especially with this paint reduced to to what I have it here, 1 to 10, 1 part paint to 10 parts reducer. You could run this at 5 pounds of pressure. So if you're an automotive guy and you're used to using, you know, really thin candies and you're used to doing all that at, you know, no pressure at all, you can run the new Createx opaques like that, which is wonderful. All right, so that should be it for that. That's all I need to do. We'll pull this and see what it looks like. But what's nice about it, like any good, you know, painting or really anything, it's always 80% prep and, you know, 20% just actually doing it. So all the work in this came from me cutting out the templates beforehand. The spray part of it is pretty easy. So now when I pull this, I should have a pretty good indication of that whole area. And that looks good. See how, and it fades up the top. So what I'm also wondering is why I didn't cut out any white things over here. It needs a few of them. So I guess I am going to cut with you guys. I just need a few white fields out here to kind of finish that up. So I don't know why I didn't cut anything out over there. I was distracted by something. I don't know. So this, I'm just going to randomly grab some of these fields. Now the other question that might come up too is, okay, so there's a million fields in this image, and they're all basically like some kind of geometric shape, square, trapezoid, or whatever it is. The question is like, do you really need to like cut out exactly what these fields look like in the photo? Can't you just like kind of randomly put stuff in and, you know, use paintbrush in the back or whatever? And the thing of it is you can, but what's nice about cutting out a few of the actual fields here, the ones that are really in the photocopy, this is what teaches me how these things look. So again, perspective is a beautiful thing. It's where you are and how you're looking at stuff. The fields down here, you're looking almost straight down on. So you're almost looking straight down at them. So they're squares and triangles and all that fun stuff. As they move up top here, they're getting flattened out as they get farther away. So if I didn't notice that, if I just started painting in fields, chances are, you know, if you're not really paying attention, all the fields are going to be these geometric shapes down here all the way up. And then it'll be looking like this guy's dive bombing right for the ground because everything looks like you're looking straight down. And I don't want that. I don't want this guy dying. So, so by kind of copying what's going on in the picture or learning what those shapes look like in the picture by cutting out what's really there for a few of them, it really gives me a good feel for what I need to do to get the rest of it to look right. Now, I don't have to cut out every single one. You'll see, I'll put some paintbrush strokes in here too. But again, I just put a few markers in here, a few of them that are right, so I know what else to do. I use this technique with doing water too. You know, I put a few little like crests of little wavelets, and those are actually from the photo that I'm working from. And then all the other ones are just kind of based off of that. So hopefully that helps. I've been running a 2mm Mr. Hobby brush for small stuff. Biggest battle is freehanding without the constant tip dry interruption. Maybe I should be a bit more liberal reducer. Tommy, it might also, it's hard to tell without seeing you paint, but it also might be, I mean, if you're, I mean, sounds like you know what you're doing. So it also depends on how often, like I'm cleaning tip dry off my brush constantly, so it doesn't get to the point where it becomes a problem. So that might be it. The other thing to do, Tommy, is raise the air pressure a little bit too. Even if it's above what you're normally used to using. It takes a little bit of getting used to if you have really super high pressure, because obviously you get, you know, it's going to start spider webbing everywhere if you're not careful. But for me, it gives me, I just like the way that the paint breaks off the needle. You know, it really, with all that pressure, it really does do a good job at like making sure all the paint gets off the needle. Where if it's lower pressure, that paint really has a chance to collect there. So, you know, keep upping the pressure by like 5% and see how high you can go. Like right now, my regulator's at 40 pounds of pressure, which is ridiculously high for super thin paint. But, you know, it just keeps everything flowing, especially with white. White's going to tip dry no matter what. All right, so I'm going to get some of these in here now. Try to not go too far overboard because I don't want them brighter than the other ones. That looks good. I can live with that. All right, next up, palette cam. So we got No. No. Try that again. James, what's up? Now let's try that again without my big fat head. There we go. What do I want? I want this over here and this over here. That's what I want. Oh, that's why the exposure was lower, because I didn't have the lights on it. All right. Palette cam with no light. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I got to grab a copy. Hold on. Hold up. Ah, burning leaf smells so good. Again, my anxiety's through the roof now. I want to be outside raking. I don't want to be. I hate raking. I hate raking with a burning passion of 1,000 suns. But I want to get it done because I like it when it's done. So, all right. So again, paintbrush. This is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 00 or double aught. Since this is the UK feed, this is my. Actually, I shouldn't say just because of the UK feed or the GMT feed. I use this brush all the time. These brushes are made by Winsor & Newton, which is a venerable art supply company. They in the UK. These brushes here, I believe they're made in their France facility though, which is also cool. Shoveling snow, raking leaves. Yeah, I can. Both of them. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of both. In Northeast Ohio, we've really lucked out, and I say lucked out. Some people really love snow, but we've lucked out the past few years. It hasn't been really that much snow at all, so I'm happy. We got a long driveway, but I do have a snow blower, but I still. All right, I would much rather 100% though. Much rather deal with snow in the driveway than leaves in the yard. It's pretty sucktastic. So again, with this brush, I'm just kind of adding and filling the gaps with some of these smaller fields. Again, if I was working, what is that? That's a little snuggie. I don't know what that is. Oh, and I just smeared it all over the painting. Great. Again, if this is a big time painting, like an actual painting I'll be spending some time on, I would be cutting out a lot more of these things, and they'd just be more detail in the background. But again, this one, when we're done today, I want this done. So again, it's more of an indication, and I'm going to kind of hit this with a little bit of white at the end too. So kind of blend everything together. A couple of those, and then just for fun, I'm going to grab the black here. Usually with 543s, I only use black or white. Like I won't mix them together. So if there's any gray in a 543, it'll be just a thin black. Lately, I've been mixing up grays for 543s too. I don't know why. It's just, sometimes it's just nicer to grab a gray than to try to deal with, all right, how am I gonna thin this black out so it works, So now what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing the paintbrush and the black, and I'm just throwing in some random details to kind of make this look more like what it looks like in the photograph. Again, not really trying super hard because I got to get this done fast. And again, for those who don't know, we give one of these away every Monday, and these come from viewers' suggestions. So on the Monday night feed on Facebook, people will type in 543 and then give me a suggestion, and then I'll grab all those suggestions at the end of the week and pick 5 of them and do paintings from them. And then the following week, the following Monday, we draw a random number from some of those suggestions, from all of those suggestions, and that person gets to pick a painting. So either one of the ones that we did, or anyone on the site. So if you want in on that, all you got to do is join us on Facebook on Monday. So that's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. So it's on the late side for the GMT folks. Starts at 11. However, we do have a lot of people jump on from that. This I showed in one of the Tech Tuesdays. So I take this is a multi-rail, but you can use any ruler really. I like this because it has a nice rubber backing on it, and one of the edges is curved up on this. This is really an inking ruler, which is nice. And what I do is I just kind of line it up with the edge that I want to put the line on, and then I tilt it up. So if this is flat, now it's tilted up a little bit, and I could just run the ferrule right along the, I want to make sure you guys can see this. There we go. I run the ferrule right along the line I want to kind of put in, and it is now a ruler for your paintbrushing, which is kind of nice. Similar to what you could get with a maul stick, but on this scale it's obviously much smaller. Throw some of the rows in here. Again, I don't want to get too crazy with this. I do actually want to get crazy with this. I do want to do a bunch of stuff on this, but again, we're going to try to keep this under control. So I do find sometimes that I'll get into one of these 543s and put in way extra, but for the most part, I try not to. Again, I want to keep the spirit of them. I really want to keep them like a sketch, you know. Some rando details. This is funny because it's really just the opposite of the bigger paintings I do, and it's one of the criticisms that photorealism gets a lot. It's like, well, all the details are there. It gives my mind nothing to do. It's like, why don't you just take a picture? So this type of painting where I'm suggesting a lot of stuff and letting your brain fill it in is what, you know, like I said, that's the criticism. That's what people sometimes want to see in a photorealistic painting. However, I look at it differently for those photorealistic paintings. I've said this before, and I treat it like I'm telling a story, and it's my job to put all the details in, to have a, you know, really elaborate, detailed type of story, so that whoever is listening to the story or looking at the painting will have all the information and they can have their own experience with it. So I don't want someone to have to, you know, I don't want their brain to have to make anything up. I want their brain to be able to just enjoy it and say, oh yeah, that's what that is, and that's how that works. Oh, James, no, man, it's my pleasure. I really love it. All right, I think that's pretty good. This is a pretty big field here, so I don't want to go too crazy. And I'll just put some extra little indications here. Again, I don't want to blow this thing up. I just want to make sure that someone looks at it and says, oh yeah, those are fields. All right, so I still have the white. Yeah, good. So this is the white in the micron. Incidentally, we were talking about reductions. So this white is only, it's reduced to 100%. And again, the only reason I reduce it 100% is because I use it through this brush and like a 0.3 millimeter brush. And I usually this is what I use for fades and, you know, white details and stuff like that. So this needs to be a little bit thicker to do that. So that's kind of what the deal is with that. So now what I do is, now that I get all the kind of paintbrush work in, I'll just fade from the top down a little bit. I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. I should have put the cutout of the jet here, because then I would have preserved some of the jet area. Do I want to do that? No, I'll say, yeah, well, this will be a what could go wrong moment. By working on a gray background here, if I put the jet here, that's all the midtones of the jet already done. But now that I've put the white fade in, this, you know, the wing that's going to be up here needs to be darker. So that means I got to mix up a gray. Again, it's not a tragedy. It's one more step, and we want to avoid one more steps when I'm doing stuff like this. But there you go. There's your pseudo background, your crazy jet background. So now we can start putting the actual jet in. Let me pick one of these. So I've cut out 3 different templates here, and I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking with this, or what I was thinking. So here is the inverted jet. So when you look at this thing, there's a couple areas that are sharp and outlined and dark, like the vertical stabilizers here, the tail, essentially the tails. Those are, you know, pretty pretty like clear-cut shapes, and they have edges all the way around. So that's an easy one to grab. But there are a lot of them that aren't, like where the engines are here. This is really smooth the way it kind of goes in and out here. So it's a lot of fades and stuff like that where the wing transitions into the body. There's really not a hard edged line there. So the way I kind of deal with it is I break it up into different sections, and then I overlap those sections, and that's how I'll get all these different like softer transitions. You can see up here, this is where I was talking about. I should have put the mask, just cut out the whole plane and then put it on before I sprayed that whole white, because all this medium lighter gray would already be done on this wing, but I've painted it with white. So plus I put a line across it, which was dumb too, but sometimes dumb is what we do. All right, I'll take that back. I do dumb a lot. So all right. Yeah, this changes a lot. So, you know what we could do? Do I want to do that? This cutout here, I said this here cutout. This cutout here is the wings that I'm worried about. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to put this in its place and see what I actually have to worry about. And you know what, I think I'm going to do it. So if you haven't watched the Eraser Shield Tech Tuesday, you don't have to, because you're about to see it in action. So I'm going to line this up so they have the jet where it's supposed to be. And I can tell because there's a few little areas in the background that are cut out. I think that's going to be pretty close. All right, so here's how I'm going to use the Eraser Shield in a second. Let me get the bulk of it first. Yeah, let me... Where's my... Oh, I just used it. Okay. Sorry about that. That was very loud. All right, so if you watch the Eraser Shield episode, this is a Draftsman Eraser Shield. It's made out of stainless steel. It's very, very thin. It's got all these funky shapes in it. So this is what you use if you don't want to damage your well, originally your drawing, like your technical drawing. But in this case, this is what's going to save my stencil. So what I'm going to do, once I get that in place, I can just aggressively erase on top of it. And then what that does is actually, I'll show you when I pull it off. It'll be more clear when I pull it off. But it just gives me, an edge to really like get sharp, like eraser edges on. Like if I do this on obviously on the paper cutout, I'm gonna just blow up the paper. So this metal edge here really, really does a good job at keeping everything safe. And that's why all the shapes are in it. You can, find a shape that matches or an edge or whatever. So it's really, really a cool thing. They're super inexpensive too. You can get them. I've seen them at Hobby Lobby. Most people don't even know what they are anymore because, most all drafting is computer now. Especially with a jet. This is easy because, there's lots of nice, straight lines and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's not like, if this was super organic, this guy's tougher to use because they don't really, it was never intended to be an art tool. It was more intended to be a draftsman tool when they're doing all kinds of, straight stuff, so to speak. But there are enough curves on this, you can usually get whatever you need. And taking this a few minutes here to do this, to clean this back up, and is going to save me a bunch of time later when I go to paint this. Because if not, here's what would happen. If I don't have like the same gray across the whole jet, like these two wings are gonna look totally different than the rest of the jet, because it's difficult for me to match this gray to the Ottoborn sealer in the rest of it. So so this is just gonna save me a bunch of time, and I just whacked that, but that's okay. It's mostly the surface of the wing I want. That looks pretty good. I think I got most of it, and most of it is gonna be a win. All right, now I can pull this off and see what I got. Yeah, so I've just reclaimed those wings. But see the difference in value between the gray background and that white I sprayed? And again, it looks, yeah, there's actually white all over this thing, but that's okay. Once I get down into here, it gets really dark on the motor. So down in here where it gets dark, you're not going to see. There is some white here too from the fade, but all that's going to be blown up. It's mostly just this wing that I really wanted to make sure that I have the background for. That's good. Yeah, isn't that a cool thing? So this has been around forever. In fact, I mentioned this on the Tech Tuesday. This is my dad's. So my dad was an optical engineer. He was a draftsman from the start. He went to school for it, and so a lot of his well, not a lot of them. I have a few of his drafting tools. I have a couple of his templates, and then I have his eraser shield too. So it's important to me, like, you know, obviously I don't want anything to happen to this, but it's also important to me to use it too. You know, the reason why I have it is because, you know, I've had this, I didn't just get this. My dad passed away last year. I didn't just get this. I've had this since he stopped. I mean, I used to use his drafting supplies all the time. And there are just a few items that I just kind of kept, you know, along the way. And this is one of them. So, yeah. So I think it's really super important that I continue to use it. Yeah, but it's a great tool. Great tool. All right, so that's it. But yeah, that edge right there, I mean, that's like I masked it off. And I can't, this is a great eraser, and even if I sharpen it, if I try to get that edge, even with a sharp eraser, it's going to get fuzzy. But that really does a great job at it. Thanks, James. Yeah, it was a good one. I should have been paying more attention. All right, so let's get back to it. Now, the only problem with that is I kind of dinged the little point right there. So I got to be careful of that when I go to spray this in. So let's do this one first so I can get this out of the way. I hit it with the eraser, and that's kind of what I was talking about before. Like, you could, if you're gentle enough, if you had like a really just like a little bit of overspray to take care of, you could use the template as an eraser shield. Again, you just got to be really gentle with it. I was pretty aggressive. You can be as aggressive as you want with the metal eraser shield, but with the paper shield, you can do it. You just got to take more passes with it. And keep in mind too, these aggressive erasers like this one. This is a 605B type eraser. This is going to dig holes in the paper too. So you have a little bit of time to get that done, but eventually you'll you know, wreck the paper too. All right. So now, instead of mixing up a gray, I can just use the black and fade it. So I'm going to start with the nose of the jet. I should put a couple magnets on this side just so I don't get any paint over there underneath. This F15 is painted in that dark gray too. You see a lot of F15s painted in like a lighter gray, but sometimes you'll see them in a really, really dark charcoal gray, and that's what this one is, which is nice. So this, again, the nose of the jet is obviously cone shaped, so try to get that shadow off there so you can see it. So I'm thinking, you know, basic airbrush stuff, you know, think of a cone. And also the real important part is the difference in value between the body of the jet here and the opening in the engine, the intake here. There's a nice contrast there that I got to make sure that I get to. Now overall this thing has gray to it too. It's darker than the background, so I got to grab all that too, but I'll do that last, just like now. Once I know I have the, you know, that form of the nose of the jet in, then I can just kind of hit the whole thing and we'll be good to go. All right, now these wings up here. So these wings now, instead of having to deal with developing a medium gray, I can literally just spray over the whole thing really lightly. And it's going to match the rest of it. The disadvantage of mixing a gray is the gray with the white will actually have a real cool blue feeling. Just the black, if I spray the black really lightly like I just did, this has a very warm brownish feeling. So that's what I mean. If this was like a cool gray up here and the rest of the jet was kind of a brownish, you know, warmer tone, you'd really feel it. You'd be able to, you know, tell that something's up with it. So that's why that save was important. All right, pull this off, see how it looks. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. So if it wasn't dark enough, this is the time to make the adjustments. I would rather have to add a little bit of value to this than like if I have to take away value, that sucks at this point. Like if those wings were way too dark and I needed to fix them, that sucks really bad. That's a lot of work. Can you do it? Yeah, definitely. Brad Mummery, what's up, buddy? Timothy John Luke Smith. Tim, I missed your feed last night, but Persephone is looking amazing. Tim on his feed is working on a kind of a classically ideated painting, but in a modern setting. And if you haven't had a chance, just go check it out. It's coming out great. One of my favorite things about the airbrush and the way artists use them is whatever discipline they were before, they carry that style into their airbrushing. It's almost like it's not possible. And it also speaks to the versatility of the brush, of the airbrush. So an oil painter, if they pick up an airbrush, their airbrushing will look like an oil painting. Perfect example is Tim's stuff that he's working on. Tim's a pastel painter as well, and you can see a lot of that sensibility in his work. It doesn't look like what you would traditionally consider an airbrush painting. It looks like it's oils or pastel. And that's true on everything. If you see like someone who comes from pencil work, like if they're doing black and white pencil work and they start using an airbrush, that sensibility kind of hangs on with them too. Same thing with like even interdiscipline type stuff. If you see a t-shirt artist, for instance, that started out doing t-shirt art, you'll often see a lot of the same kind of techniques and style kind of bleed through. That isn't 100%. You look at guys like Drew Blair, who started doing t-shirts and now does amazing photorealism. But for the most part, you could see that travel, that path that they took, which I love a lot. Watercolors the same way. If you're a watercolorist, they tend to airbrush very transparently, and it's so much fun. All right, I know, shut up, keep working. I'm working. All right, let's do this one next. This is the upper engine nacelle and then the lower wing. Line this guy up. So again, I've kind of split this whole jet up into all these different bits and pieces so I can blend them back in together. And I'll show you how that works. In 1 second, once I get this locked in. Okay, so with with the engine here, there's a bunch of stuff going on, but I'll show you what's happening here. What is that? There's a window open somewhere. So the other cool thing with the magnets, as far as the way I'm doing this, notice I have no magnets down in here. There are some areas, I mean, I probably will put one here, but there are no magnets on this engine right here because I want a little bit of underspray to get underneath that. I don't want these to be all super hard edges because then it'll all look just like a jigsaw puzzle. So by having a little bit of leeway on what I put magnets on, we'll let it all kind of blend together. And yes, we will definitely have this all done before the end of the feed. This will be a quick one. So if you would like this painting, join us on Monday. If the winner Monday night does not choose it, they all go up on my site. And don't forget, if you end up wanting it, you can use that code. And that code will give you 30% off. So get this for a scream. Okay, now the lower wing is pretty dark. I'm going to fade it from the top to the bottom. Again, no magnets on this middle section right here because I do want that to be kind of fuzzy. It's going to be pretty hard edged anyway, but I'm not worried that a little bit of paint gets underneath there. In fact, I really want a little bit of paint to get underneath there. I want it to be soft. This bottom part of the wing, though, I do want it kind of sharp, so I've got an extra magnet on it and I got my finger on it, and just by going light, that's going to keep it under control. At least I hope so. Tim, one of the many things I've learned from Steve's feed is that using paintbrush is perfect with the airbrush is a game changer. Ah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tim, I love it, Tim. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I'm on a crusade. I've been on a crusade ever since I started using the airbrush. That the airbrush is not a medium. So Tim works in oils and pastels. He also works in acrylic. Tim is not an airbrush artist. Tim is an artist. So it's always been that way, though. You know, whenever I put a painting in a show, I absolutely will never put it in as an airbrush painting because it's not an airbrush painting. It's like putting a painting in a show and saying this is a paintbrush painting. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but what did you use to make it? You know what I mean? So this, for instance, this painting here is an acrylic painting. You know, that's it. So when people ask, it's not like I'm like, you know, I don't want to tell people what I use. That's not the point. The point is it's always traditionally been the medium is the type of stuff you use to make your art, meaning the pigment type. That's usually how it's defined. So I carry on that crusade every day. Airbrush is just a tool. That's right. That's exactly it. All right, let's see what's up with this one. Oh, these are my vertical stabilizers in the other engine. So I'll get this lined up. And once we get this on, we're pretty much blocked in, which is stunning. Incidentally, I use Photoshop. There's a whole bunch of cool photo processing type of programs that you can use to manipulate reference photos and things like that. Yeah, I've been using Photoshop forever, so why is that like that? Oh, I know why that's like that. Okay. So this little piece right here, this is one of the reasons why I do this. See how this piece is kind of flopping around? Whenever I see this, I know that it's a fade that goes the farthest away from this to this little fold. And that's just a reminder. Sometimes if I just cut something out completely, I won't realize or I won't remember that it's supposed to be a fade like that. So this just is a little reminder, and that's a perfect example of how that works. So that's a good job. A Filbert, yeah, Filbert #3 painting, yes. Yes, which is funny because that's exactly it, Tim. It's like people, it would be like people arguing, wait, use a palette knife in your oil painting? You can't do that. That's cheating. You're just supposed to use paintbrushes. And you're like, what are you talking about? Oil painters use palette knives all the time. So what's the difference between a palette knife and an airbrush? Now again, there are a few people that use oils and airbrush with oils, but there's a whole health thing that goes on with that that's scary. So you find there's not too many people that do that anymore, especially because acrylics are so available now. But it's the same thing. It's like, what are you talking about? So the airbrush is a tool you can't use in a fine art painting, but you can use a stick or with a cotton bag on the end of it, or how about your lights in your studio? You know, you're not working with a candle stuck to your forehead. So where do you draw the line with that tool? And it's endless. Fortunately, that is way less common now than it used to be. Even in my lifetime of doing this, I rarely get anyone who gives me, any kind of grief in a gallery type setting that a painting is that had an airbrush, used in it, which is great. It's the way it should be. Because anyone who thinks that this thing is a cheat needs to try it. In some instances, it's way harder to use this than anything else. And it's just like anything. I don't know. It's like, it would be like an oil painter using, like a watercolor brush in their painting. Yeah, I mean, it's not common because of the way that the materials work, but, a soft sable brush might be something that you'd really want for really tight details and thin, glazes. And it's like, you're really going to give that person crap because they're not sticking with the traditional tools that are traditional in their mind, How the hell did I get on this ramp? Ramp? It's like an on-ramp. It's not a rant, it's an on-ramp. Yes, Tim nailed it. Airbrush and oils lead to a short life. I was traditional, or yeah, yeah. I was like, I started with watercolor. That was my thing. And then that moved into, because I found the airbrush while I was in school, and all the commercial illustrators were using gouache, and I was already using watercolor, so I knew what gouache was, and I was very excited. I'm like, oh, I know that. What I didn't take into account was that watercolor and gouache, good watercolor and gouache, again, I was using Winsor & Newton, they have genuine colors in watercolors and gouache as well. Cadmium, cobalt, all that fun stuff. And you don't want to spray that with an airbrush. It's bad enough, the stuff just in the tube. But if that's airborne, like Tim said, it ends up going to be, you're going to end up with a very, very short career because bad things. I think those kind of criticisms come from a place of jealousy and ignorance. Yeah, I think that's true too. And obviously the digital painter people can attest to the same kind of thing. You have this tool that in a way makes everything seem like it's so much easier, when really all it does is, maybe it makes some things easier and your fingers are clean at the end of the day, but there's so much to learn, and especially with technology, digital painting is changing every day, just like computers do, obviously, because it's the same, So to keep up with that, man, that's a chore and a half too. So there's something about everything. I mean, that's what it is. That's why whenever it comes up with art and that kind of stuff, for me, it boils down to, can I do it just right out of the gate without any practice, without any knowledge? Can I do what they're doing? And if the answer is yes, then that takes it down a notch in my head. But if it's like no, I would have to learn how to do that, and even after I learned how to do that, I would have to continue to learn, and then no matter what they're using, if they're using a stick that they found outside, then I have a lot of that really resonates with me. It gives me a lot of respect in that artist. So it makes it easy too, because then I don't have to get into it. I don't have to get into, what tool is not acceptable, or what medium is not acceptable. I don't have to deal with it. All right, what am I missing? I didn't do the other horizontal stabilizer, this guy down here. So I'll have to cut that out, and also the other side of the engine I got to get to. But right out of the gate, it's pretty much coming together. It's almost all blocked in, which is nice. Yeah, awesome, James. So true. Yeah, the especially the airbrush. I mean, I never, like, if anyone ever, and I don't, like I said, I don't get it that often, and I even didn't get it that often when I was younger. As far as people saying that the airbrush wasn't a valid tool, it did come up sometimes, and you can do all of it. You can say, okay, if you're making it look easy and someone thinks you're cheating, and really you're just making it look easy, you can smile at the end of the day with that. You don't even have to worry about that. But if someone really is, hard on that they really think it's cheating, just give them an airbrush and see what happens. Because I can watch a fantastic watercolorist do this amazing wash, and in 2 seconds have this amazing sunset sky. And then I can try it and it'll look like, I threw up all over the place. It's just because if someone makes it easy doesn't mean it's easy. So, I love our Thursday rants, kids. This is good. Our soapboxes is cheers to that. Oh boy. Okay. I've already got 3 of the 543s done. So this is number 4. I got one more to do, and I'm going to try to get that done before the weekend so that I can go outside and play in the leaves. All right. This horizontal stabilizer and then where it attaches to the body, that's right there and there. So I'm going to cut out all that. And because this template doesn't have anything really going on, I can also get the other side of the opening of the engine here too. And then I'm just quickly checking to see if there's anything else here that I want to grab. But I think I've got everything. This part here on the bottom of this engine is going to be freehand, so I don't have to cut anything out for that. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that was fun. I had a good time. Actually, that's here. I don't think I showed that to you guys. Oh, do I have it here? I do. It's right here. I'm going to, I'll do this. Switch to this. So this is the autumn painting. Little sunset autumn painting. This was a lot of fun because this was, if you watch this happen, there's way more paintbrush on this than airbrush. And sometimes it's just good to let loose. So I'm going to get you guys closer so you can see. There's going to be a lot of glare on this, but let me take it out. So what's a lot of fun with this is just what we were talking about. This is an ampersand panel, and I have cleared it. There's UVLS on it, but if I tilt it, you can see all the you know, the brush strokes and everything from all the leaves and all that. It's just more of a, there we go, that's better. You can see all that texture on there. That's all the leaves. That's not the panel. The panel was really smooth. So it's just it was a fun painting, you know, and then of course the strengths with the airbrush allow me to do this glow and you know, the evenness of the tree trunks and things like that. So that's fun painting. Shameless plug too, if you want this painting, it's up for a stupid price on the website. And then you can also use a coupon on it. So there's that. Oh, thanks, Tim. I really, you know, sometimes, and Tim knows, because Tim can spend, you know, just hours and hours and hours on a painting. Sometimes you just need to bang something out, and that's why these 543s are so much fun for me. Like well, I'll show you another one, because yesterday was, I think we're caught up on this one. I haven't done any more on this. What you guys have seen is what's on Open Studio. This painting is rolling up on like 30 something hours right now, and there's just so much to this piece. There's just a lot. So you end up working on this, and it can be a grind, you know, especially if there's one thing like the rust. You get over it fast. You know, there's like this, you just want to work on something else. Now this painting has been a blast because I only really put in, you know, small chunks on it because it's part of the Open Studio thing. But if I had to get this done for someone and I had to spend a week and a half just doing this painting every day, all day, that's a drag. It can be rough. So I'll get you close in on this one so you can see it. But we're almost to the end of this one now. So I just got to do the foot panel. I got to do some details on the motor, and I got to fix some problems with this shadow. But yeah, this one's almost done. And then yes, I've got a couple requests for it, and I think it's an excellent idea. The next Open Studio painting is going to be a razor blade painting, so you guys will see the entire razor blade process. All you know, from beginning to end, which will be a lot of fun because I've done how-tos on the razor blades, like in magazines and things like that, but I've never, you know, I've never done like a video type of thing. One, because I really didn't have the you know, the equipment to do it, but now I have the super macro lens, so we can get that done now. So you guys will be right in on it. All right, what did I say I was going to do? Oh, this motor. I mean the turkey feathers. This guy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't picked the. It's going to be a car. You know, razor blade paintings really do well with cars, and you know, I can get them done. Like I don't. It's not that I'm opposed to having another, you know, giant epic painting like the Harley there, but we just did, you know, we're gonna just be finishing up the Harley painting that took over a year to get that all done with the Open Studio. And I want one that's going to be a little bit quicker this time. And then we'll get back to an Epic one after that. So there we go. So I think I got everything now. That, those, them, these. You also notice there's no markings on this Jet 2, which is excellent for 543s. When you have like all the insignias and stars and bars and all that fun stuff, that takes time. And we don't want to take time on a 543. We want to get it done. Get it done. So that's what we're doing. Line this up. Make sure the nose is where it should be, and pick the wing up here maybe, so that is lined up. That looks good. Drop these in here. A couple of them, 2 of them, 3 of them. What else we got? Tim, thanks. I am super psyched about that the Harley painting. I can't wait. I was saying on the Open Studio that I have a frame, because it's part of a series, that HD stencil series. So the Home of the Free painting was the first one, and then there was the marble painting that I did. That was an HD stencil. This one's an HD stencil. I've got the Fords. So when I started this, I got all the same frames for all the paintings. This one now is different because of what it's become. So I'm going to get a totally different frame for it. It's going to be chunky and old looking, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I may reserve it. Sometimes sometimes I hold bigger paintings for certain shows that I want to, kind of hit hard type of thing. So we'll see. I don't know where it's going to go. I also don't think, if someone, most of the paintings I do are available, and that one will probably eventually be available too, but I think I might hold on to it for a little bit. Kind of like the winter painting, the creek painting. So we'll see what happens. All right, so just some light shading in here to get this to where it should be, and should be ready for some paintbrush stuff now. Oh, I forgot that part, but yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's just a matter of picking the right one. And then, between that one and the creek painting, every year I come up with a list of things I need to do. Like, what am I going to get done this year? That kind of thing. And that usually happens, well, I start thinking about it during the year, the year before. And like I said, this year was all about, getting all the social media stuff up to speed, because I felt I was not using it the way I wanted to. And I think this year, I have a great gallery here in Ohio, in Lisbon. And but what I think I want this year coming up, I think I'm going to start farming for a bigger gallery, more of a national type of thing. So that's where paintings like the Harley painting and the Creek painting and the Boston painting and all that fun stuff, those are what those are for. One thing I'm missing here is on the other side of this horizontal stabilizer. It's really dark. I don't have that, so I'm going to just take a second and cut that out and get that in too. Yeah, so Tim, the bucket list for me was always the Louis Mizell Gallery in New York. And unfortunately, I don't know what the status is. I got the most amazing email response from Louis Mizell. So for those who don't know, everyone uses the term photorealism. Louis Mizell is the guy who coined that phrase, and he has a gallery in New York, and he is just he's what everyone thinks of. All those 70s and 80s photorealists like Chuck Close and just so many of them, Richard Estes. he gathered all those guys together and girls together, and so his gallery is known for that type of art. I don't think that they, from my back and forth with them, I don't think they are accepting any new artists. I think they're just kind of the stewards of the history of that now. But I actually got an email response back from the man, and he said, "I wish I knew you, back when he was running it and really in charge." And that blew me away. I'm like, what? So of course, back then, I don't feel my art was at that level. I don't even know if my art is at that level now. I mean, those guys are. Oh, you just got to look at some of their work, like Richard Estes, and just like it's Drew Blair level. That's what we're talking about. It's like you can't wrap your head around them. Alberto Pono level. So, Tim, there was a couple on Newbury Street that I liked, but I ended up kind of diverting and ended up in Cambridge, and that's where the Cambridge Art Association. I ended up focusing on them, which was great, and so that's how that happened. Yeah, but I didn't really. There's a couple. I can't remember the name of them now. On Newbury Street. So we'll see. I don't know. That's, like I said, that's a job for next year, or that's the job for next year. Good. We're ready. We're blocked in. So that's it. So that's not it, but that's it for that. So all the cutouts are done now. I usually make 2 pages of cutouts, and then weirdly, I tend to use 7 or 8 of the cutouts out of the 12. And this is another example of that. I used 8 of them, I only used 7 of them because there's this one too. I don't know why. It doesn't matter if it's a car, person, plane, and I don't try. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird the way it works out. But there you go. All right. Yeah, Chase is amazing. What is it? No, I can't remember. I can't remember the name of them. But yeah, YARP. Yeah, I'm gonna keep drawing blank, so I'm not even gonna try, because there's another. Oh, the Copley. There's a group of artists in Boston that have a great show, and they're really known. What I'm doing is, I should turn this back on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the palette, the white and the black, and put in all the details in this jet, and then this is pretty much done. Aside from adding a few extra little roads here that, like this one, and this is, I just did that, that ruler trick, the maul stick trick with the ruler. You can do it with a regular ruler too. It's the same thing. So use what you got. I just like the bigger ruler because it stays put. It really stays where it doesn't slide around. This little guy is great, but it has a tendency to bend and move around. Yeah, so the Copley Society in Boston had some amazing artists, and in fact, one of them was an oil painter that I really, really looked up to. And so I entered one of their shows. They have an annual show that's a huge deal and all this stuff, and I entered it and had the worst experience with entering a show. It was really expensive for a show, to get in, the entry fee. And then they never, I mean, in every single show I've ever entered, you get a yes or a no, right? If your piece doesn't get in, they have the courtesy of sending you a no. So not only was this show super expensive to get into, I didn't even get any notification. I did not get into the show. But even besides that, I had to call them, and they're like, yeah, we just don't do that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't do that? For the amount of money that the show was to enter, you can't send out an email that says, hey, yeah, thank you, we appreciate your effort, or whatever the ding letters are that they send, which, I've got plenty of those too. yeah, so that was my last time with the Copley, and like I said, it was disappointing because this the artist that I'm talking about, Robert Douglas Hunter, was one of the past presidents. He was. It's how I knew about them, and it just sucked. And Hunter had passed away quite a while ago, and I actually mentioned that in the email back to them because I wasn't going to just sit back and I'm like, you know what, you guys have this reputation, and the reason why I found you was because of Hunter, and everyone knows who he is, and it was just a sucky experience. So I don't know how I got on that either. Their museum is great. Their gallery is great. I think it's right off of Newbury. Arden Gallery. That's the one. That's the one, Tim. I couldn't remember. I love the Arden Gallery. So, and then the other thing too now is I'm here in Ohio, so it's going to be a logistics thing, no matter where I get into. But, it's New York is not that far away for me, so it's only about 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours to New York City from here. So, and then of course Los Angeles, there's a lot of great galleries in LA. That's a whole different thing as far as distance wise, but still that works. I'm going to leave out there 2 little missile or rocket clips on here. I'm going to leave them off. Normally with jets, you don't ever do that, especially military jets, because I call them rivet counters. They'll look at that and they'll say, hey, where are those, to whatever. But 543, it might take away more than it would add, so I'm going to leave it off. Now the other advantage too I have for my artwork, again, because it's so small, it's super easy to ship. So that opens up a lot as far as where I choose for a gallery, or what I find and what works. And then the ultimate thing is to sell all your own stuff, and then you get to, like, obviously if you've dealt with a gallery, and it's always the same, they earn anywhere from 40 to 60% of your painting. So, and it's not like you can double your prices, to cover that. In the beginning, you're basically just giving them half to sell your work, and that's okay because a good gallery will do a good job at selling and promoting you and all that fun stuff. So, ideally it would be great to just sell it on your own and keep all the money, but there's something to be said for having some people go to bat for you on that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, it's as a painter, that's traditionally that was always the way to go. It's like you worked and you got into a good gallery and you were off and running. Now these days with the interwebs and everything, it's so much easier to sell your own art, and that's good. So, but like I said, I've always wanted to kind of have a super gallery. If you're new or if you're getting into it, I cannot suggest art associations any higher than I already do. There are some really, really good art associations, especially near bigger cities. Cambridge, like I said, Cambridge Art was a great one. The advantage with getting into a really good association, a lot of them are juried. It's not like you just, you go and give them $10 and you're in. A lot of them are juried, so it's hard to get in. But when you get in, they often have many opportunities to show your work. So there are a lot of shows that they'll have. So it's a great way if you're, how do I get in? How do I start? Start looking at some really good art organizations. Even to start, just a smaller one. I was a member of my little town's art association when I was in high school. and that worked out amazing. I met Robert Douglas Hunter while I was at that art association, this little tiny towns art association. He came in to do a demo, and that was it. So, so if you're kind of struggling on where to start, you can't, you're not gonna, you don't feel like you can approach the Met, local art associations are amazing. And then the best part about that is you meet all kinds of other local artists. And if it's anything like the Boston area, a lot of the artists would be members in all these different art associations. Like I was a member of Cohasset, the South Shore Art Association, which was great. And then also the Cambridge Art Association in Boston. And a lot of the same artists were in both. So that was great. So you just start you on that path of kind of being involved with the local community, and you'll be amazed how fast you kind of make connections. So if you're struggling and don't know where to start there. If you're thinking, oh, I got to get into a gallery and I got to start, cold calling galleries with my portfolio or whatever, just take a few and see if you can find, what the local art associations are in your area. And like I said, I don't want to make it sound like it's a step down. It is not. To get into Cambridge, when I got in, you had to be juried, and it was tough. I had to deliver 12 paintings. You need your CV, your artist statement, all of it. It was like approaching a gallery. So it was not easy to get in, but it was thoroughly worth it. It was just a blast. And like I said, usually the bigger ones have some really serious shows. So Cambridge is one of them. Cambridge has a few of their shows that are really nationally known, which is great. So hopefully you can kind of pick up what I'm doing. I'm just kind of grabbing white and black and just kind of putting in, different little details that might tell the story a little bit better. Again, I'm not trying to go crazy here, because we want to keep it to that, hour and a half type of setup. I want to give them enough of the story, but not go nuts. The Marlborough Gallery. Tim, I got to look that up. Yeah, in the end of the, yeah, oh gosh, it's funny, as a traditional artist, that's still always the way. To have that, that super gallery. And then there are different types of galleries too. Like I don't, like for me, like I was talking about Mizell Gallery, like I don't know, I didn't look into how much artwork they actually sell. I know they have a book and they have all kinds of other stuff, but they might be transitioning more towards museum than gallery. Galleries like Park West, which Park West does all those cruises, they'll do destination type art exhibits, and they're way more sales. They're if you get in with them, expect to be really super busy, because they're just going to move everything you have. They're like I don't want to say they're an art mill, because they all have super high-end art, but there are different kinds of galleries too. So I could go on and on about, how to find the right gallery, but all right, so I'm back on the airbrush. So what I'm going to do is I've already got all these little like sharper details in. So now what I'm going to end up doing with the airbrush is just blending those back, just taking the sharpness of some of those lines and fading them in a little bit so they don't seem so harsh. And that will get us pretty much to the finish line on this painting, which is nice. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Source Gallery in Lisbon is a small gallery. It's run by just one guy. He owns the gallery, and he's the guy. So, but I love the vibe of the place. I love the other artists in there. He's not doing $1 billion every year. but he's moving all kinds of stuff. So it's just and it's local for me. He's only about, I don't know, 35 minutes away, which is great for out here because we're kind of rural. So I didn't think I'd find anyone locally. I thought the next gallery was going to be in Pittsburgh or Cleveland. Pittsburgh has a great, kind of a great art scene. I really haven't checked out Cleveland. I know Marge has some stuff from some of their sculpting communities, and that seems really strong. So that's a good indication that that they probably have a lot of good painters as well. But again, Cleveland and Pittsburgh are both an hour away from me in different directions. So so that's kind of what I was expecting. So then to find this place in Lisbon was amazing. It was great. Every Good Tech Tuesday, how to approach galleries and find art. Cody, that would take more than one though. I might have to think about that. See if we can break that down. I just don't want to spend. I mean, there is, like I said, developing your CV and your artist statement and all that. It's an important part of that. So I've got just a piece of paper. I'm just going to add a few more of these little farms, but I'm just going to freehand them in. So I just kind of put the paper on the edge that I want, and then just lightly kind of fade. It's not going to take much to give me the indication of what I'm looking for. So I just feel like it needs a few more. I think it's not broken up enough, I think. That looks good. Yeah, back to the other thing. Yeah, in most schools, in most art schools, the prep for approaching galleries and getting yourself ready as far as all your fun art stuff, that's usually an entire class, like a semester class on developing your artist statement and CV and all that. So yeah, it might be fun though to kind of get the primer going on that. You should have it. I mean, if you're a practicing artist, you should have an up-to-date artist resume and elevator pitches, and especially elevator pitches, because I mean, what do you say when someone says, what kind of art do you do? If you can't answer that immediately, you'll always be flopping around. You know what I mean? It's nice to know, and you don't have to like boil it all down. I mean, you don't have to know exactly, but you do kind of have to have a feel, or to be able to tell someone, hey, this is what I do. But it's a great idea, like I said, especially if you're exhibiting or you're entering shows, it's a great idea to keep up with essentially your artist resume. So that the worst is when you decide to enter a show and that's not up to date and you have to spend, a whole night updating and trying to remember what you've done. That sucks. So, yeah, that's 100% true, Tim. 100%. That's the other thing too. You never know when stuff's going to hit you, and you want to be ready. So I feel good about this. I feel very 543-ish. So there's a moment in the 543 that doesn't happen with other paintings. And what I've ended up coming to terms with this is these are never done to where I want them to be done. There's always stuff I want to add to them. And that's the difference between a 543 and a bigger painting for me. So when I'm done with a bigger painting, there is nothing left to do. Like, I've done everything that I needed to do. With these, there's always more to do. And that's how I know when to stop. When I say, oh, I should add a little bit here, a little bit more there, that's when I'm like, Steve, stop. That's it. You're done. Because if not, like I said, I could spend 10 hours on this. It would be a real painting. And then I keep saying that. You know what I mean? Like a big time painting, full boat painting. And these can't be that. They're not supposed to be that. So that's when, put your name on them and let it be what it's going to be. So there is your Eric Williams inverted F15. Just enough. Just enough. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. Let me actually, I'll take the tape off it so you can get the full effect. I should put the glove on though. Hold on. Keep my greasy fingers off it. So if you come in Monday for the feed, you'll see this one all cleared up and it's matte, and that's what it looks like. Again, super easy, simple, but to the point. What time is it? How long did that take us? It is 2:37. Yeah, so it took us an hour and a half. Now, realistically, I spent about 20 minutes cutting all those templates before the feed. So this one would have made it in under 2 hours, which is perfect. That's what they need to be. That's what they need to be. Sometimes, like I said, I have one for this week that took me longer than 2 hours. There's one, maybe two that took me longer than 2 hours. So sometimes it happens, but you know, for the most part, it's just fun. What am I doing? That's that. 1 second. I don't want that. Turn that off. And then we'll go to that one. Here we go. All right. Ooh, I don't want to do that. Turning everything off. So thank you all, everyone, for jumping in. Thank you to all the members. I see a lot of green on that list, and it makes me super happy, so thank you. I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys. I did change the icon. The icon was originally a razor blade, if you remember, but you couldn't tell what it was. It was too small. So I changed it to the logo, and then what's going to happen is after 6 months, you get an orange and blue logo, so it'll reverse. And then after a year of membership, you're actually going to jump back to the blue, but there'll be an orange star behind your SL. So that way it gives you a little bit of a a differentiation between people who've been around for a while. So to all the people who have jumped on with that, it's huge. It means the world to me. That's a big part of what's going to keep things going over here, and I truly appreciate it. If you are around on Monday, come back and see the rest of them. I got, like I said, I'll have the other 4 done. I honestly don't know what we're doing on Monday yet. So if you have an idea, you can, post on one of the whatever or send me a message, and usually it hits me over the weekend. So I'll figure out what I'm doing on Monday. And that's what I got. So there you go. So thank you all for coming by. I'm Steve Leahy. I'm going to do the last one, and then I'm going to take the rest of the weekend and rake leaves. So I hope you have an equally wonderful weekend, and I will catch you guys all on the next one. Thanks a lot. Oh, I meant to change that, but more self-promotion. There we go. Don't forget the code. I love you guys. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you later.